Hello, my name is Stephen Redman and welcome to Pastor's Library. This is the channel where we talk about all things to do with theology books, specifically books that might be on a reading list for a seminary or bachelor's course or master's course, or indeed just books that you've seen in your pastor's library, in your vicar's office, or perhaps on a Christian bookshelf in a Christian bookstore. Well, today we're going to talk about a particular new book, comparing it with its older brother. And if you like what we have to say, please give us a thumbs up on YouTube. Please remember to subscribe if you haven't done and click on the bell. All that will really do for you is make sure you get to know when we release another episode. What it will do for us is it will help us get the message out further afield, and we would appreciate your support with that. So today I want us to talk about the Dictionary of Paul and his letters. Now, this is an IVP publication, and there's a whole series of them. I've got a whole series of them on my bookshelf. When I was first doing a degree, a friend of mine said, here's a tip, buy the IVP series of dictionaries because they will cover a lot of ground without you spending a lot of money. So I did what he said, and some of them have been very helpful, I have to say. For example, if you're wanting a commentary on the book of Galatians, well, you won't find a proper commentary in these, but you will find an overview. You will find statements about the theology of Galatians. You will see Galatians a little bit more in its context, and you will see some key points. And so you can find all of Paul's writings mentioned in here with an overview of them. So that's obviously quite a good point, isn't it? But this book, which, as you can see, is still in very good condition, which shows you Stephen Redman looks after his books. It's a lesson to us all, people. But I've got the new one, which I've only had now for a matter of days. And this is 2023 release. The general editor is Scot McKnight. The associate editors are Lynn Cohick and Nijay Gupta. And that compares with 1993 for the one I just showed you. So this is not only brand new, it's 13 years newer. So they have a recognition that it needs to be less than 30 years for you to be able to quote it appropriately in most university or seminary essays. And so this was due, and we have here a very, very good book. Now, is this just an update? No, it isn't. It isn't anything remotely like an update. It's a completely new work. All the people that have worked on it are new people. All of the people that have worked on it have assessed what needs to be in the book rather than copying what used to be in the book. I have to say the layout of this is good. The paper is very white. The text is very black. It's good for people that have started to advance in years and maybe need to be able to see what's on the page a lot more clearly. But this is an excellent point of reference to everything Pauline, everything to do with the Apostle Paul. You can just look up the titles of what you're interested in alphabetically and they will come to light. For example, the Lord's Supper, love. These are the types of titles that are all in here. Man and woman, ministry. These are all the types of titles you will find. Now, what's changed in this period of time? Well, of course, the writers about Pauline ideology, Pauline revelation, these things have all been developed in the last 30 years. And I would suggest to you that it was time for an update. The new perspective on Paul existed when the last volume came out, but it is more developed now. It's good to see how comparisons can be offered. For example, Paul on homosexuality is a short message in the last one. In here, it's a number of pages. Now, why is that? Well, I think two reasons. Number one, homosexuality has become a bigger issue in the church today. I mean, who would have believed 30 years ago that society would have changed so rapidly? And so we need to understand a lot more about what the Bible says about these things, because we want to deal appropriately with people who come into our churches. So that's an interesting change. More in the book, because there is more issue with this in the church. There is a massive section on the interpretation of Paul. Now, this, I think, is perhaps the most indicative change in the dictionary. You will see the interpretation of Paul from an African American point of view, from an Asian point of view. You will see everything from Luther, Augustine, and so on and so forth, through to modern European interpretations and everything in between. This is a good book at looking at the big picture. And if you need the big picture, which I think most of us actually do, this is a very good method of interpretation. And of course, these are really good people that we have listed here. Scot McKnight, one of the leading theologians in the world today, Nijay Gupta and Lynn Cohick, who are both absolutely outstanding theologians. Both of them very, very strong in the commentary field, but also strong on their support of journals with serious articles and the oversight of PhD students. So these are good people who genuinely have something to say. And personally, I think that this is outstanding compared to the last one. I really think I can sort of leap up and down a little bit with this one. So, for example, if you look at prophecy, Paul on prophecy, here you will get a very even-handed approach that cessationists could look at and say, yes, and that Pentecostals can look at and say, yes. And it's good because it engages everybody and it quotes some of the most amazing people. But these are all current people, which is very good. When it comes to the section on women, there's a fantastic chapter written by Lucy Peppiatt, who is not only a great British theologian, but she's also principal of the WTC Bible College. Very, very good, distinctive writer for today, has a lot to offer. There, like all of these sections, at the end of the section, it tells you the person that has written the section, which I think is obviously very important for quotability, but it's also important so you can see who you're reading and have a look at all of that. I really do think that the sections on women in Paul are very, very good. And again, so much more to them than in the previous incarnation. The section on worship is also very good, as is the section on wrath, which is a word that you maybe didn't know still existed, but it's in this second edition. So, what have I got to say about this? Firstly, 30 years. This is the key anniversary. 30 years opens up a whole new generation of Bible college students, university students, to be able to access this and quote from it as top of the range in their essays. This is really written or edited by excellent people. The writers, that many authors are involved, are brilliant. The top edge of world theologians is represented here. This is a book which really, genuinely offers so much. And it's a good solid hardback, one that delivers what its title is and will do so for a long time to come. I think it may be 30 years before we see anything that's better. This is a really serious book. So whether or not, like me, you've got shelves of commentaries and you've got lots of separate books and journals and stuff, this still has something to offer to someone like me, as well as to the person that's just starting out. So if you're just starting to put together your own library this year, can I suggest this is probably a good place to start, particularly if your emphasis is the New Testament, because this is a great volume, offers so much, and credit to the authors, to the editors. Brilliant. Well done, everybody. I hope you like this. If you have, remember to give us a thumbs up on YouTube. Remember to subscribe and click on the bell, and then you'll be amongst the first to know when we issue another episode of Pastor's Library. Until then, bye!